So, my phone's ringing during my review, or somebody's phone is ringing. Maybe that wasn't even mine. Oh, it was. Okay. So, have a seat. Oh, by the way, thank you. I just finally got the lovely Thanksgiving card. I appreciate it. Yeah, you can sit right there. So, we are reviewing chapters 3 and 4. So I haven't been making the videos that much because I felt like nobody was using them. But then one student said, but you didn't make the review videos. And I said, well, because nobody's using them. And then another student says, well, that doesn't mean you quit. So she's right. I shouldn't quit. So we're going to make a review video. It's going to be a little long. It's going to be a little boring. But you know what? You watch the review video, and it helps you with what it is you're supposed to be doing. See, I love geometry support. So,
this is algebra support.
Oh, this is GEL. That's what I meant. I love something. Okay, so, guys, since you can't see at home the questions, but you should have the questions, I'm going to read through them. So number 1 says, which best describes the... Okay, at the back of the room, you're not going to talk. You weren't talking. The person next to you was talking. Which best describes the line that passes through... Oh, I'm not calibrated. I got to calibrate. 7,1 and 10,5. And the line that passes through -8,5 and -5,9. So what that means is I have the ordered pair 7,1 and 10,5. And I have a line that goes through them. I also have ordered pairs -8,5 and -5,9. So I'm going to find the slope of the line that would go through these 2 points, the slope of the line that would go through these 2 points. So my slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, 5 minus 1 over 10 minus 7. 5 minus 1 is 4. 10 minus 7 is 3. The slope of this line is 4 over 3. Now the other 2 points. 9 minus 5. -5. Now this is where you want to be careful. It's minus -8, which is the same as -5 plus 8. If you remember, we had you write in your flippy books. You want to be careful on slope formula that when you're subtracting a negative, you realize it's adding a positive. 9 minus 5 is 4. -5 plus 8 is 3. Since the slopes are the same, the lines are parallel, the answer is D on your multiple choice. Number 2, I'm not going to go through the math on all of those because you actually have to end up doing 4 problems. You have it says a line L1 has a slope of 4/9. The line that passes through which of the following pairs of points is parallel to L1? You have 4 sets of points. You need to do guess and check. You need to find the slope of each of it. In this case, the answer happens to be choice D on your paper, which is -3, 2, and 6, 6. So if I do change in y, 6 minus 2 over -3 minus 6. 6, did I do this right? Oh my goodness, I think I did this wrong. 6 minus 2 is 4. -3 minus 6 is -9. So my answer key said D was the correct answer, but it's not the correct answer, is it?
No.
Ah, so let's try the other ones.
Yeah. No, because it's negative. It's positive.
No, it's -4/9, and it needs to be...
I got 4/9.
You got 4/9?
Yeah.
6. Oh, you're right. No. I did this part backwards. 6 minus 2, it's 6 minus negative 3. So my answer key was right. I did it wrong. Wow. Tell you guys all the time, I would get an A in this class. I would not get 100. Let me see if I can redeem myself. Number 3, find the slope of the line that passes through 6, negative 5, and negative 5, negative 7. So negative 5 minus negative 7, 6 minus negative 5. So that's the same as negative 5 plus 7, correct? And that's the same as 6 plus 5. Negative 5 plus 7 is positive 2. And 6 plus 5 is 11. So the slope of the line is 2 11ths. Number 4 is a problem where you're just counting the slope, and you should have gotten 4/3. Number 5 says on your paper which graph shows the line that goes through negative 7, 6 and is parallel to a line with a slope of 5 over 4. It's not this way on your review, but on your test there will be 4 graphs. You would be looking for the graph 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you would be looking for the graph that goes through negative 7, negative 6, and then goes up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, on your test, it will be multiple choice, and that's what you will be looking for. Number 6 says write an equation that is parallel to y equals 2/3 x minus 7. Now on your test, you're going to have 4 choices. Since it's parallel, you're going to look for the choice that says y equals 2/3 x and then plus or minus some number. I think on the test, one of them is 2/3, one of them is 3/2, one of them is negative 2/3, and one of them is negative 3/2. Right? Those of you who already took the test? If you're asked to write it, you could put anything here for a y-intercept, plus or minus any number, as long as the slope is the same, the lines are parallel. Okay? So now, this to me, number 7, is where the test starts to get much more difficult. Number 7 says find the slope-intercept form of the line passing through 7, negative 2, and is parallel to this line. Okay? So I've told you, and I have you write it in your flippy books. Whenever you have problems involving parallel or perpendicular, there's 3 steps. Before we look in the flippy book, does anybody remember what the first step is? Do you know it? Yeah, figure out the slope. Then what's the second step?
Put it in slope.
Okay, point slope form, and then you put it in slope-intercept. Okay, so it's in your flippy book. You can study it. By the time you get to the test, obviously, which is tomorrow, you need to kind of have memorized that. So, first thing, they want a line parallel, so it's the same slope. Negative 8. So now I can put it in point slope form. If I don't remember my point slope form, Okay? Yeah, but on the test, y minus -2 equals -8 x minus 7. This is the same as y plus 2. But I don't just need an endpoint slope form. I need to get the slope-intercept form, right?
Yeah.
So what's this called? Distributing. -8 times x is -8x. -8 times -7 is a positive 56.
Yeah.
Okay? Slope-intercept form means I need the y by itself.
Add 2.
I subtract 2 from both sides. Y equals -8x plus 54. Okay, so again, and we're going to keep referring to this. Every time we're going to use the slope, we're going to figure out what slope to use, then we're going to put it in point slope form, then we're going to put it in slope-intercept form. So we're going to have a few of these. That's why I'm erasing the work we just did. So when I flip the page, what is the slope of a line perpendicular? And they give me an equation. So I need to figure out the what? Slope. But the equation is in standard form. That's standard form, right? X and Y are on the same side. Does standard form give me the slope?
No.
What form of the equation gives me the slope?
Point.
Point slope or slope-intercept, okay? So let's just put this in slope-intercept, okay? I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Now, even though I could write 8 plus 2x, slope-intercept form has the 2x and then the 8, correct? I'm not in slope-intercept form yet, though, because I have this number in front of the y, correct? And slope-intercept form says I have the y by itself. So I'm going to divide everything by 9. This is key here, guys. When you divide by 9, remember you're dividing the slope by 9. Not the slope by 9, but the number in front of the x by 9 and the number by itself. But we like fractions. So the slope of this line is 2/9, right? It said find the slope. They want the slope of a line perpendicular. So it's in your flippy book, but see if you can remember without looking. What's the rule about perpendicular slopes? It's the reciprocal, but it's also the what? Okay, where it says reciprocal, it actually says opposite reciprocal. Opposite reciprocal means you need to change the sign. Like the opposite of 7 is -7, okay? And I didn't put these right. It was 2/9 before. So the reciprocal means the numerator and denominator switch positions. So the reciprocal of 2/9 is 9/2. The opposite of 9/2 is -9/2. That's why it's opposite and reciprocal. Okay? So on this one, I didn't have to do point slope and slope-intercept form because it didn't ask for a whole equation. It only asked for the slope. Number 9 is going to ask for a whole equation. All right, so number 9 says, write the slope, write in slope-intercept form of a line passing through points -2, -5, and perpendicular. Perpendicular, so what do I have to do first? Figure out if the slope of this line is 2/3, What's the rule about perpendicular lines and their slopes? It's the opposite reciprocal. So what is the reciprocal of 2/3? 3/2. And the opposite means negative. I have my slope. That's step 1. Step 2, point slope form, right? I'm using this point. Y minus -5 is y plus 5. My slope that I want to use is -3/2. X minus -2 is x plus 2. Correct? But I want what? They told me to do it in slope-intercept form. Now, on your test, on a multiple choice test, before I even turned it around, if I looked at the answers, because I think this does happen on tests quite often, if only one, I know that my slope has to be -3/2, right? So whether I'm in point slope form or slope-intercept form, that slope has to say -3/2. If I have 4 multiple choices, but only one of them has that slope, do I really have to do all that math to figure it out? I know the one that has the correct slope is my answer. So even though kids said, oh, that test was difficult, if you kind of knew some points to look for, but let's pretend all the choices have the correct slope of -3/2. -3/2 times x, we're distributing, is -3/2 x. I can think of -3/2 times 2 as times 2/1. -3 times 2 is -6. 2 times 1 is 2. So -6 divided by -2, sorry, -6 divided by +2 is -3. Correct? I subtract 5 from both sides. Y equals -3/2 minus 8. Okay? But when we looked in class at the review for this one, the multiple choice options, this was the only one, sorry, it needs to be an X there, that even made sense, because this was the only one that had a slope of -3/2. So pay attention accordingly. Okay, you can save yourself a lot of time, especially on a multiple choice test, by thinking about what answers make sense. Okay. Which of the following are the x and y intercepts of the graph of the equation? So we're moving away from parallel and perpendicular questions, and we're moving on to x and y intercepts. X and y intercepts we deal with when we deal with standard form. So in your flippy book, I had you actually write on there where it said standard form. If you have a question about x and y intercepts, that's what you want to think about. So this is where you plug 0 in for x and 0 in for y. So I kind of skipped through this step, but let me point out. If I put 0 in for x, I actually have 6 times 0 minus 4y equals 2. The reason we say, like, ignore this side or cover it up or it just goes away is because 6 times 0 is what? 0. So there's nothing there. Okay? We divide both sides by -4. Y equals -2 over 4, which is simplifies to -1 over 2. Okay? So your x-intercept means your x value is -1/2. Sorry, this was the y-intercept. So your y-intercept means your y value is negative 1/2. What's your x value? What's your x value on your y-intercept? What's your x value on your y-intercept? What do we put in for x? 0. If you're finding your y-intercept, your x value is 0. And that's what we put in for x, correct? Now I'm going to do the same type of thing, but I'm going to put 0 in for y. So the reason we say cover this up or ignore it is 4 times 0 is 0. So 6x minus 0 is 6x. Correct?
Yeah.
I divide both sides by 6. I get x equals 2 over 6, which simplifies to 1/3. That means when my x value is 1/3, my y value is what? What's my y?
-1.
No, my y value is y because I plugged 0 in. That's what I did. Okay? So again, you're going to have multiple choice. Okay. Number 11 says graph. Now, I'm going to give you, there's 4 graphs. You're going to pick which one is right. So when I graph by finding x and y intercepts, what am I doing? What does that mean? Graphing by finding the intercepts. What is that telling me to do?
0.
Plug in 0 for x and plug in 0 for y. So, can we just say 0 times 2 is 0? So we just get to 8x is equals negative 12, correct?
Yeah.
So, x equals negative 12 over 8. Both of those are divisible by 4, correct?
Yeah.
Okay? So, negative 12 divided by 4 is 3. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now, they're going to ask me to pick a graph. Negative 3/2 is going to be on the x-axis, right, because this is my x value, about right there, correct?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do it in a different color here. Now I'm going to solve for y. If I put 0 in for x, that's 0. It goes away. So I have negative 2y equals negative 12. I know. What is negative 12 divided by negative 2? It's going to be a positive 6. So I'm going to be looking for the graph that's really off.
That looks like that.
That looks like that. Exactly. You don't have to graph it. You have to pick which one works.
On the test, we're going to have to graph anything.
I don't think so. Okay? Okay, find the slope of a line perpendicular to the line containing the point. So what does perpendicular mean? Okay, but what's the rule about perpendicular? What's the rule about the slopes of the
They have to
perpendicular?
form a right angle.
Okay. But what's the rule about the slopes? What's the rule about the slopes? We've said it a few times. So look in your flippy, parallel and perpendicular lines.
3 steps.
Okay. So what's the rule about the
One is
slope?
positive, one is negative.
One is positive, one is negative. They are what? Parallel and perpendicular. opposite reciprocals. So, -7 minus -3. 3 minus 4.
No.
That's -7 plus 3, 3 minus 4, right? So what's -7 plus 3? Is -4. And 3 minus 4 is -1. So this is kind of like the first three, those 3 steps. The first thing was find the slope, right?
Mm-hmm.
The slope of these 2 points is 4, 1. The problem says find the slope of a line perpendicular. So we take the slope and what do?
We flip it.
We flip it and we flip it, and what else do we do? Change the sign.
So it's a negative something?
Because the sign, remember, it's opposite reciprocal. Reciprocal means flip it. What does opposite mean?
If it's
Change the sign. Right, change the sign. If it's positive, make it negative. If it's negative, make it positive. Okay? So in this one, when you say, is it that 3-step thing, I'm even okay if you think about the 3-step thing, because are they asking you to write an equation in that problem? What does it say? What does it say? It says,
find the slope.
find the slope. Are they asking you to write an equation?
No.
Like, look at number 9. What does number 9 start with?
Right.
Write the slope intercept somewhere. That's asking for an equation, right? Find the slope means you're just what? Finding the slope. Number 13 says the exact same thing. Find the slope of a line that's perpendicular to the line that goes through points -9, 2 and -8, -9. So what do I need to do first? I have to find this slope. 2 minus -9, -9 minus -8. That's the same as 2 plus 9, correct?
Yeah.
And this is the same as -9 plus 8, correct? What's 2 plus 9?
11.
What's -9 plus 8? -1. So I have -11 over 1. What's the reciprocal of 11 over 1? Okay. What's the reciprocal? Over 11. And because this is negative, I need the opposite so it becomes positive. Okay?
Yeah.
Number 14. Find the slope. So now I'm not dealing with parallel or perpendicular. I just need to figure out the slope. Minus, and that should be +7. Okay. -3 minus 7. -1 minus -1. -3 minus 7 is -10. But -1 plus 1 is 0. And what does it say in your flipping? Undefined. I will accept the answer no slope. Okay? Technically, so somebody was asking me before we started making the video, like, what does no slope mean? No slope really means that you have a line that's straight up and down. Okay? The reason it's called no slope, if you like think about it, okay, especially like in engineering or stuff, we don't create things that go straight down at a 90-degree angle because of gravity. They'll fall off. Like if you think about it, even like a roller coaster doesn't go straight down, right? It goes like, the only thing that goes straight down are like those rides where they do like the death drop, but you're still like attached to a track. Okay? So if you're skiing, you can't go straight down. Because of gravity and like basic physics, you'll die because you'll fly off. So that's why it's called no
And then you
slope.
can finally say that you were flying.
You were flying, Oh, I have to get the video. Mrs. Falk actually skied off of a mountain in 1998. It was quite
Did you
amazing.
fly?
I flew. I almost died. Not really. I almost died. But I thought I almost died. Okay, we have a few more questions here. Number 15.
Oh, wait, yep.
During the first 50 minutes of flight, the Concorde climbs from ground level to an altitude of 52,000 feet. So, 50 minutes in flight, it's 52,000 in feet. Okay? So, really what this problem is, this is a slope problem. Now, it works mathematically if you do 52,000 divided by 50. The reason that works, I just happen to remember that it's 1,040. The reason it works is because when you're haven't left yet, remember this is 50 minutes into the flight, when you're 0 minutes into the flight, which means you haven't left yet,
You're not going anywhere.
how high in the air are you? 0. So 52,000 minus 0 is 52,000. 50 minus 0 is 50. You do have questions on the test where it might go a little bit further and say explain what the slope means. Well, the slope means that you go 1,040 feet every minute. If you think about these labels, this is 52,000 feet. This is 50 minutes. So you go 1,040 feet every minute. Okay? Number 16.
Is this the three steps?
Yep. Write an equation that passes through the point
Find the
-3, -5, and a slope of -5. So in this case, what's the slope?
-5.
-5. Y minus -5 is y plus 5.
Well, 5.
The slope is -5, x plus 3. Now, I want to point something out here. This is the 3 steps, but this problem specifically doesn't say that it has to be in slope-intercept form, does it?
No.
So technically, this is correct.
Oh, that's correct.
Now, if you took it further and put it into slope-intercept form, that's also correct. -5 times x is -5x. -5 times 3 is -15. I'd subtract 5 from both sides. Y equals -5x minus 20. Okay?
So then the answer would just be the y plus 5 minus.
You can give me the y plus 5 equals -5 parentheses x plus 3, or you can give me y equals -5x minus 20. Now, if this is multiple choice on your test, only one of them is there.
Okay. What would the one that be correct?
If this one is there, that's the one that's correct.
What if they're both there?
They're not.
She means that she both is.
Okay? Believe it or not, this one right here, just to give you guys an idea, is actually even a question on the geometry file.
It is?
This parallel and perpendicular lines and slope-intercept form, you do again in geometry. So just think how well prepared you're going to be for that lesson in
Are you
geometry.
going to make sure that you're geometry?
I'm going to ask.
If not, I'm going to say
If not, you're going to do it. So, okay. So number 17 is confusing.
yeah.
So you have a 112-gallon water tank of water, and it's leaking. It's going to run dry in 16 hours. And they give you a graph. And on that graph, this is at about 112, and this is 16. They tell you that the equation for this is y equals 112 minus 7x. Okay? So, suppose some of the leaks are fixed, and instead of taking 16 hours, it now takes 32 hours. Okay? they ask what number is replacing the negative 7. Okay? So that means you're going to be changing this right here. Okay? Now, in this one, in order to find a new value here, you have to have a number to put in for x and put in for y. Well, they want to know when it hits 32. 32 is the ordered pair 32, comma 0, correct?
Yeah.
So now your x value is going to be 32. Your y value is going to be 0.
How?
The 112 stays the same, and we're trying to find the number that goes in that box. I'm going to use the variable w for what number.
What the water?
What number goes in the box? So I should have my 32. I should have my 32 before my w, right? So I have two choices here. I'm going to subtract 112 from both sides. Okay? And I'm going to have then negative 112 will equal negative 32 over w. Because I taught you guys, hold on, because I kept saying to you guys, when you have 0 on one side, right, your addition or subtraction, you get rid of the number that doesn't have the variable. So I'm trying to keep that rule pattern the same.
And then divide it.
And then you would, now, a negative divided by a negative is going to be what? And when you divide 112 by 32, you're going to get 3.5. So what number replaces the 7?
3.5.
3.5. Even though the equation says negative and then the 7, they're asking just what replaces the 7, right? So think of this as subtraction. Don't put in there negative 3.5. It's just 3.5. Got it?
What?
Get- What?
7 right here.
So the 7 really represents how fast the water's flowing. Okay, basically I think it's like, okay. So, and if you think about it, it took twice as long for the water to come out, right? So it makes sense that 3.5 is half of 7. It's coming out half as fast.
Okay.
It's taking twice as long because the water's coming out half as fast. You know, if you go to fill something up, if you turn the water on a little bit, it fills up slowly. If you turn it on twice as hard, it's going to fill up twice as fast, right? Same thing when you drain it, right? If you're draining your bathtub and you only open up the drain part way, right? It's going to take longer for the water to drain. Because you've, in this problem, fixed some holes, whatever's draining just isn't going to drain as quick.
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop the video,
Okay.
and then I'm going to upload the video.
Okay. Peace.